Okay, it's recording. Okay. Hello, everyone, and I hope all of you are staying true and living true to yourself in this wonderful environment that we call Earth and into infinity and beyond with the universe. We are with an amazing person, Jordan Pearce, Jordan David Pearce. How are you, Jordan?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just to say, I've always wanted to get you on the channel here so I can interview you because I always wanted to meet you.
It's an
So
honor to be here.
just start with this first question, and it's an introductory. So who are you, Jordan? And how did you begin your quest? And where did you grow up?
Well, I guess going backwards, I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We currently also live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I got started on my spiritual journey. I guess, I mean, probably true for all of us, like when we were born. But really, I experienced some tremendous changes in my life when I was 19, and I experienced such a profound shift of awareness that it wasn't even a question that I was here to do this thing, to share this information, to be loved, to become more, to evolve, to expand, to grow, to learn, like it was just like, oh, that now it just makes sense, And so that's how it all started. And I mean, I could go forever on the progression of where I went from there. And then your first question, who are you? Who am I? I mean, I don't know what to say other than I am.
I am. I love those words. Those two key words into life. That's how it's a simple two words that can answer everything. I am.
That's it. Like every time, it's because it gets to the root of the existence, right? Like that's just awareness. It's like your I. It's just presence, and then am, exist. Like anything you put beyond that is just added ego, really. Like I am Jordan. No, that's a name that has been applied to this physical body. But it's I am an animator. No, that's a thing that I do with my body and my time and my consciousness. But it doesn't define the scope of myself. And that I feel like that's true for everybody. And that's just what we're all trying to help learn and discover deeper, that I am presence. But yeah.
And also just as you said, I am as well. So I've also learned that I am is also a key word for the law of attraction, that whatever you put beyond those two words, as you said as well, it could be an ego, but as well it can be something for you to create your life as. For example, you could say I am a painter. So therefore, if you have that word in your mind, you can grow from there. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. It's like identifying a focus, right? I am, and then put a focus to it, and then you become that. You become that which you think about. You become that which you feel. Quantum physics is showing like particles move in both directions through time. Like you can have a particle here and in the future at the same time, in the future and in the past at the same time. So even though we experience reality very linearly, the past and the future are shaping each other actively, including our memories of the past, for example. Like people can remember things a lot different than how they actually happen. And the future can constantly change depending on every little action that you do. And so it really comes down to that present moment awareness, that right now, the here and the now, what's going on in this moment, because this moment is all there is. All of the past and the future is happening right now, but it's experienced and created from here. And so it really blows out your perspective of time when you start like approaching life that way. But life also can become more magical, because there's more opportunity to change things that you don't like. When people think that, well, life is the way that it is. It's very, this is what I have to get a job, get married, settle down, have the kids. That's the program. That's the idea. I retire, and then I'm old, and then I die, and that's life, And it's like, no, it can be so much infinitely more than that, or less. It depends on what you want. You know, if you want to go up on a mountain and meditate for 100 years, you can do that. If you want to like devote your life to building free energy devices and like change the world, you can do that. Like literally, you can do anything. You just have to, yeah, like as you're saying, like set that focus. Like I am what? At it. Create, write your story. You are an author. Everybody who's watching this, anybody who ever listens to this, you are an author. Be free in writing the story of your life.
Excellent, simply marvelous. And also just to
It's
it
not
is
me.
the
No,
truth.
I promise you, it's not me. It's this is like, again, this is just what flows. Like when you and I'm sorry to kind of take it away again, but here it's like, if you, to anybody listening, can just let go of it having to be from you. Your ego, just set your ego aside. It doesn't have to be about you. And then the words and the feelings and the thoughts, they just flow very naturally through you. And that's really the point of magic. You know, it's like, it's not, it's like that quote, it's kind of confusing a little bit, because it's like, oh, you know, everything is within you. It is, yes, of course. It's within you that you connect to everything beyond that which we can see and experience. It's like you're tapping into this universal flow that can move through you, and then you have all of it. It's like you become the river, you know, and the riverbed that carries the water through, rather than having to, you know, it's like I'm everything, I'm God. I mean, that's a very self-centered approach that happens sometimes in this sort of like the new age movement a little bit, but it's like you are a piece of that greater whole, and you have access to all of it, as long as you don't try and hold on to it, because it is constantly moving and still, perpetually still, all at the same time.
That is amazing, amazing insight here. You just made me remember something extremely well. So just to backtrack just a little bit further, a little bit back as well. On your journey, how were you before your, like you could say, awakening or your enlightenment? Were you different from before you started on your journey, or were you the same?
Very.
You were
Well,
very the
and
same.
I would like to share that. I mean, especially since becoming spiritual, I guess, if that's the word to use, I have experienced so much change that I can say every single day I'm a new person. I would say that this was also true before, but maybe in a different way. Maybe the process was slower. Now I'm like, I've trained myself. I've trained my body of consciousness. I've trained my ego to want to change and to learn and to grow always, right? In the past, I mean, you know, I grew up, I was like sort of a kind of, I was raised very innocently, very like naive to the ways of the world. Nobody explained how anything worked, any of the problems of the world, you know. I mean, my parents took me to church for a while, and I just like didn't get the relationship towards me. I was like, okay, there's this ancient guy, he died, he did some stuff. I mean, there was like a lot of people who like got their land back, I guess, or they got kicked out or something. I don't know. I mean, and, you know, I was like, I don't get it, you know. And then, so we kind of stopped going to church. I wasn't really religious. I really, like, I was just passionate about animation and like telling stories. That was like the one thing that was sort of defining to me. And like also like experiencing really good stories as well, like from like video games, like Kingdom Hearts or Dragon Ball Z or whatever, you know. Like I definitely was like into anime and like into lots of video games and stuff like that. But I spent most of my time like making cartoons in my parents' basement, or at my, you know, even in school, like my lunch breaks were making cartoons. It's just all I wanted to do. So that's, I guess, that passion, that skill really lended itself to what, you know, what happened later. Because when I became aware of like sacred geometry and spirituality, I was like, oh, I have to, it all makes sense. I've been learning animation so I can make this video series and explain to the world, because if the world understood how everything is one, the world would change. Everybody would experience profound levels of healing and transformation and like connection with each other. So it just kind of all clicked together. But like, I mean, yeah, like besides that sort of interest, I mean, there was times when I was like really mean because I was bullied a lot. So it was kind of like this hurt people. Like I was kind of a shut in, didn't have too many friends, spent most of my days all alone. And that was just kind of like, that was just the way that I believed life was. And I did my best to like kind of keep myself safe within myself, I guess, as I think all of us do. And then, yeah, it wasn't until, I mean, like, really, like, I everything changed. I mean, and after that, it's sort of been this long process of unraveling the depths of my soul, the depths of my ego, the different traumas that I had experienced in my life, and sort of like pulling out myself to find myself, you know, like doing that spring cleaning, but perpetually and always inside. And I guess just doing my best to try and like listen to spirit and make actions, or take actions and make decisions based on my highest understanding at the time, which are not always, you know, the best, and sometimes are. And it really depends on my state of consciousness. And I'm really coming to a place right now where I guess I'm just feeling a lot more centered and grounded in the work that I'm doing, and like a lot more focused on what I feel like the right thing is, that spirit's kind of calling me to do, you know, like this project right here, the tarot. It was a very big one, but one that I've been dreaming of for years, and to see it come to fruition was just like, oh, yes, it was so good. I'm so happy about it. So I hope that answered your question. I kind of went off on a little bit there, but yeah.
I know it did perfectly. I'm going to be coming on you towards the tour decade later as well. But just as a question, from all the other ways, from you basically answered this, but like if you could say in more detail, there are so many other medias, so many other ways you could express your message, your knowledge. What brought you to animation? Because you said that you loved drawing cartoons as a child, you was always drawn to games, video games. But like, what directly to the purpose of animation brought you towards animation?
What brought me towards it? I mean, honestly, I mean, it might have been just like my love of Disney as a child. Like Aladdin was one of the first movies I ever saw. But honestly, okay, so my first cartoons that I actually ever made were on the side of a flip book. And I realized that I could make stick figures fight each other in grade 6, like I was 12 years old. Like by like drawing the stick figure over and over and over again, coming closer to this other guy, taking a sword and ding, ding, you know, like it was just little stick figure fights. It was just like so much fun, you know, like I just spent all of my time doing that when I figured out I could do that. And I found that like, as like growing up, like I really loved to draw, and I really wanted to draw, and yet I was just never motivated to draw. Like I was stuck. Like I would be like, I want to be an artist and draw some pictures, and I'd sit down and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I just, you know, I wouldn't practice very much. I mean, sometimes I mean, you know, I drew some things, but like it wasn't anything spectacular. And then what really did it for me was being able to take these characters that I was drawing and then make them move and give them life, because I felt like my still images weren't enough. Like they were just, you know, a still picture. But to be able to take that character and now like give him motion and weight and depth and character that you can directly experience by like watching a scene, you know, and giving it voices and music and sound effects and all of these things, was just so appealing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I really wanted to tell stories bigger than a singular image. And so that just kind of became what I really wanted to do, what I loved. And so, I don't know, I did. I just, again, like 13 years old, I found Adobe Flash, and it was like Flash 8, I think. And you just like, my Wii, I mean, I had some friends who also wanted to learn it, but none of them took to it like I did. But I just poured myself into learning how to do it and watching cartoons online, like Super Flash Brothers on Newgrounds, and like Legendary Frog and Homestar Runner, like all of these, like some people probably are like, oh yeah, and other people are like, I don't never heard of that, right? But it's like those were like the very early days of 2D homemade animations on the internet, and they just fully inspired me and like got me going.
Amazing. And so I also wanted to brought this up to your attention. With animation, do you also think that in a way you are creating a world? So you could say, without saying it with a purpose of an ego, you basically are a god, which in essence, there is something beyond that, that basically you are a lot of frames of a cartoon, of an animation. You're a live product with lots of tiny little frames.
That's so funny you said that, because I was thinking of that as we were talking. The only thing I want to preface this is like we have to be very careful when you say like, you know, like, do you see yourself as a god creating this little world, right? Because regardless of the intention, people are very quick to misconstrue. If I said, "Oh, I think I'm a god creating," people would be like, "Jordan thinks he's a god," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." So, so like, totally, because, but it's like you have to go back and forth between like the physical world and like the mental world, right? Because when, for example, if I created a cartoon story and told the story of these characters, right? The characters, I mean, they exist on paper and they exist, you know, in the animation. Like there is a visual, tangible thing that is experienced that you can like look at and experience that movie or episode or whatever. But it's experienced inside. So I'm really being the author of a story for you to experience, but it's very similar to how we can observe the similar, it's like as above, so below, to the parallel between this higher mind, in Hermeticism, they call it the mind of God. Also, I literally like just the word spirit, right? As spirit is creating reality, or as reality, as the cosmos is coming into manifestation, use whatever terminology, you know, you want to call it, but it's, it's like, it is this sequence of, it's like a neural sequence of information that is experienced in a progression, right? A linear, well, we experience in a linear flow. The cosmos might experience it differently from a higher perspective, right? But even us living our lives, right? Like take a still frame of this moment, which you can never, like this moment's already passed. It doesn't even exist anymore. Like me saying that, right? And we have it on camera, but then it's re-experienced again every time you watch it in the moment, and then it's gone again. Which is just a crazy loop for your mind if you think about it. So don't get too caught in the loop there. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's like every frame is an individual still frame strung together by this like web of consciousness experiencing itself through like what could be in the future and what has already passed. But the past is already gone. The future doesn't exist. So how can we say that anything really exists other than like what's happening here and now? And even the present is a mystery. So like because everything is happening right now. I mean, it's baffling and beautiful all at the same time.
Perfect. It does exactly what I was thinking as well. So as you were saying about the future and past as well, what do you think are the big grand misconceptions about the past and future, and why do people always struggle to stay in the present moment from seeing the future or the past?
First thing that comes to my mind is that like history will repeat itself unless we learn from it. That like there's a famous quote about it, and I don't remember the specifics in the moment, but pretty much that. Those who do not learn from the past are doomed to repeat it, maybe. I don't know. Either way. Like, okay, so here's the thing. We're kind of living in the Matrix a little bit. Like, and the Matrix being a preconceived set of ideas and rules and frameworks about how reality works and how life is. So it's kind of just like that we're all raised and grown up and born into this system that conditions us to believe, I mean, the past is what it is, and like you're going to be taught the specific version of the past that you're born into. So if you're born in the States, America's the great heroes of World War II, and we are the grand whatever of the world, we're the greatest. And no offense to Americans, I love you guys. If you're grown up in Japan, you probably learn a different story. If you grew up in India, you're going to learn a different story, right, about heritage. I mean, you grew up in India, you're going to learn about Brahma and Shiva and Vishnu and how these cosmic creative forces did these amazing things that brought about reality. And then there's all this suffering and subjugation. But then there were people like Gandhi who came and helped. The Buddha, obviously, have to be. Buddha was like, I mean, that was like big Jesus of that side of the world. And but like there's even more modern people like Gandhi who like help shape things. Like that's like you don't learn about Gandhi in Western history classes. At least I didn't, and I don't know many people who have. I learned it from the documentary or movie, which was like mind-blowingly good. But but like still, like at the same time, it's like it's a lens by which you can look at reality. And in order to really understand the past, you have to be open to seeing all of it. You have to be open to receiving information about how history is from all walks of life, which is always different. And so, I feel like it's because of the limitation of scope of like, this is our history. And like, that's the history that we learn that like limits us from really looking at the bigger picture. And that's part of why I really am drawn to like the Atlantis story and Lemuria and Nibiru and all of the stuff from the Human History movie. Now, we didn't cover Nibiru in the Human History movie, but we're working on another Human History prequel that's like covering the extended story, because we skipped a lot in the last one. But it's cool because it really paints a picture that can be very unified to the whole human race. Like you can look at the story like the Human History movie, the fall of Atlantis and everything like that, and you can get a picture of how we got so disconnected and how we are now, right? And that's why it's valuable, I think. And maybe if we learned from that, we can actually create a future that works for all of us. Now, also for the people who are probably watching going, no, that story was ridiculous. It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense, because there's people with that perspective too. I would just simply propose that, like, look, I mean, it's one, at the very least, you could take it as a metaphor and still get the same meaning of, I mean, look, a lot of ancient texts talk about a fall. Let's not worry about how it specifically happened, but you can see the totality of the idea of, look, we as a collective were connected with each other. We became disconnected with each other so that we could refine that connection with each other and live as one. And then relating now to the future, like the second part of your question, I would say, like, I mean, we, like, looking at the future, we just don't have a goal. Like, we don't have a thing that we're aiming for as a species. And so everybody's got their own agendas, like there's these guys want to create, like they want to control the internet, and then these guys want to rule the world, and then these guys want to do this. And I'm kind of speaking from the top level here. There's other individual families who just want to live happy. They want to live in nature. They want to live, peacefully and beautifully and like in harmony, right? Like there's so many different like intentions, and they're not unified as a species. And so we really need as a species to find that thing that we can all, that we all find right here, right? That like not like there wouldn't be a single person who could go through, who could experience or know in their heart that this is like something that we can all go towards together. And I mean, I go to, like, I would love to see cloud cities and ocean cities, and like people living as harmony as one, and people knowing and understanding this unity in their hearts. But it's difficult because a lot of the religions of the world, specifically Christianity, no offense, has a very specific perspective about how that's supposed to look and work. And it sort of limits, I feel like, other perspectives from being a part of it. And that's something that we also just kind of have to like work through and realize what the deeper story is there. Because I mean, there's probably some people throughout the course of Christianity who had a controlling influence, who like had ill intention potentially, but I do believe that like the majority of human consciousness is good and had good intentions, even if the results weren't very good. Because I know that experience from myself personally, of believing and doing something that I felt was the right thing, and then finding out later, oh, maybe it wasn't. And yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, just like the unification, like everybody just realizing that we are one. Like, we don't have to believe the same thing, but we can love each other no matter what. And that's, I guess, maybe that's the future that we really need to unify. I mean, it's funny because as I'm talking, I'm like, well, it seems like the current direction that we're going is we have to have some huge global disaster and almost destroy the planet in order for everybody to wake up and go, oh my God, we all have to do something. And then it becomes about like everybody like in support of the planet itself, like being for the planet. Like, that would be a very noble goal. And maybe that's what needs to happen. You know, I guess, I mean, we all have to play our part. I mean, I would love so much to be able to just be like just awakening and everybody just wakes up all at once. But there, you know, it seems like there's a bigger story at work, and we all have to like play this part of the story that we're a part of. And anyways, I'm just kind of still talking now, but anyway, past and future. I mean, being right here, right now, being aware of what's going on in the world, we can find that center. You don't have to do anything. It's always available right now.
Perfect. It is simply perfect. What you give me the answer is simply amazing. It is.
Yeah, it just comes through.
The flow states. You say there's no spirituality or religion. It's just simply a flow state. You allow the knowledge just to come through you as a conduit.
I mean, and look, I'm the first to express, because I'm always changing, and like there is a flow, but there's also like my ego doing the best to interpret and and express it. So like everything that I'm saying I could have a completely different perspective, you know, a week from now or tomorrow or a year from now or whatever, right? And so I also request for anybody watching not to get hung up on any specific thing that I've said, because, you know, I might not even agree with it in some time with new information, with a change of awareness, with a change of heart, or whatever it is, right? But I think the only thing that I would like to say remains a constant, at least, or I'm striving to remain a constant, is like the quality of where it comes from, because it's only my intention to ever share from here, you know, right from my heart, and always from my heart, and with love and compassion. So I'll look back one day maybe and just like have compassion for the version of me that I was at this point in my life and my journey, to be able to express this. And even if it's like, oh yeah, we didn't have to do that disaster thing after all. Oh no, he was right. Yeah, I had to. Either way, you know, it's like, you know, like we can love our past selves, we can love our future selves, and there doesn't have to be any judgment.
So true. So as well, also about your bit about what you said about perceptions and how that we limit ourselves from certain beliefs. Do you think as well that we are in need to not believe, but also with an intention of like saying, I always say this to everybody who talks to me. In a way, I say, I know, but not in a way of I know everything. I am the supreme prophecy. I am a fake prophet. My intentions when I say that is more like I am open to different other perceptions to what I know. So therefore, I can find a connection from a different knowledge and expand from there. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the human race is in need of expanding the horizon from their mindset of how they think?
Honestly, I feel like that's a loaded question, because you've answered it in your own question. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, yeah, anytime you believe that you have all of the information, or one thing is right and one thing is wrong, spirit is just going to challenge that. Like, it's going to be like, I mean, how can you possibly claim to know absolute truth? We can do our best to interpret and understand and come to deeper and deeper truths. But there's a quote in the Emerald Tablets that I love so much that says, "Every step thou taketh lengthens thy journey. Every rock thy climb heightens the mountain." And it basically just means that like that journey is infinite. And like you're moving forward, and your capacity of what you can learn gets so much bigger. So the reason that we get stuck in life, or really like grow rigid in our understanding, or rigid in our consciousness, is if we grow to become very hard and firm and set in our beliefs. If we can be open to change and flow with new information, honestly, it's liberating, because then you don't have to fight for your beliefs, because you don't have any. You just are. Like it's like, look, I believe everything and I believe nothing. I am in the center of that hurricane of information swirling around me, and I exist. And that's it. And like, what information am I drawing upon today? I don't know. I mean, this is the path I've been walking for a while. I learned this thing. That was really cool. It impacted me very well. It brought me to greater heights. Now there's new information to go through, right? It's like if you can be, I'm almost going to use like water as an analogy. If you can like imagine the journey that water takes over the course of its existence on planet Earth, right? I mean, it's floating through the sky. It's coming down as snow. It's rolling down a river. It's joining into a pond. It's flowing down a bigger river. It's going into an ocean. It lifts up into the sky, or it goes down into the depths, like, and it goes into animals. It becomes a part of an animal. It gets released from the animal. It becomes a plant. It grows into the plant. It evaporates back into the sky. Now it's rain. Like, it's constantly changing. It does not hold on to anything, but it's nature, which is to move and to remain the same, because water is H2O. And that's it. Like, that is a constant, but it's always changing its form. You'll find a hard time finding some water that sits still without you forcing it to. And even then, it's gonna grow stagnant in there if you just let it sit for too long. It's gonna find a way to do something. But I mean, change. It's the only constant.
It's so true. Also as well, what you were talking about here, and the being how we become very stiff in our way of thinking. What do you honestly think and believe that needs to change in our world? What do you think what can we change in this world?
What do I honestly think or believe needs to be changed, or can change, or needs to be changed?
It needs to be changed, or can be changed, either way.
Everything and nothing, because it's perfect just the way it is, and everything can change. Literally everything, including just like that we don't even exist, right? Like, I mean, but or that we bring everything that we ever wanted to into existence. Like, we can literally do anything. So the change is up to us. We are the change. Like, we are collectively, actively creating the reality that we all experience together. The things that we work on, the things that we create, actively shapes and determines the reality that we all experience. I mean, look, if Steve Jobs never said, I want to build these things, right? We probably would not have phone, iPad, computer technology the way that it exists. And it has dramatically shifted the landscape of the world. I mean, if people didn't say, I want to experience a virtual reality, we wouldn't have VR headsets available at the GameStop with the PlayStation or Oculus Rift or whatever, like, and that's just the beginning, like of what we can create. And like, there's already shows and movies and stories about all of the wonderful things that we can create. Like, there's that movie Tomorrowland, absolutely amazing, right? Like, telling this story of this future reality that is so different and beautiful, based on it's like what would reality look like created from a heightened state of awareness, right? But when you actively create then that's the future that you get. I mean, it's just common sense, really. I mean, it's like when you live in fear, when you live suppressed, if you're just like, you're miserable both your life, you're not having fun, you drink yourself to sleep, you smoke a lot of cigarettes, you're just like, everything in life sucks, then that's what you're feeling, that's what you believe in, and then that's a reality that you just get more of. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you end up hating the world because you blame the world for all of your problems, and you never ever thought to check, maybe the reason that I'm experiencing all of this suffering is actually because of something going on within me. And that's not necessarily to say that there's not external influences that happen in the world that cause suffering. Absolutely there is. But every single moment, we still have the option and the choice of what we do with our lives. And even if someone is perpetually miserable, they've been abused, they've suffered, they've had horrible, horrible experiences happen, they can still make a choice to do something different. And that could even look like saying, I am entirely going to a different place and living differently. Like someone could like quit their job and move to Africa and just live in a tribe somewhere, or help kids somewhere, or move to India and like go and meditate, at some temples for 5 years and just be a beggar. And, and like that would profoundly change your consciousness. And those are just two examples of infinite possibilities of how you could possibly change if you ever wanted to, for anybody. And it really requires that intention to do so. That's like the only thing, really. It's like the intention to do something different. As long as someone is in their reality going, this is the way that it is, and I'm just going to live out my days and be unhappy and everything like that. That is their choice. And okay, they can do that. It's like we have that freedom of choice. I'm not sure that we as a collective are fully aware of how our actions and thoughts and feelings affect one another. We fully affect each other, and it's on a huge level. And the more aware we become of that, the more responsible we feel to do right with our actions, with our thoughts, with our, not just for ourselves, but the people in our lives that we love and care about.
That is so true, because I honestly feel like that the way to start off and initiate like change in this world is, guess what? To the next generation. Because we have already we could say messed each other up and messed ourselves up in a way. We were perfect, but as well that in our mindset of thinking how we're raised. But what I feel like is that we needed to raise the next generation into a way of love and compassion, and a way of unifying the heart and brain consciousness, in a way that they are loved and compassionate, and they excel in a way of emitting and creating. And then when they're older, they can input the mind, which the mind can create and become unison with the heart, create who they are. But also my other question is to you, just backtracking just a little bit here, is what sprouted the idea of Patchman? Was it just simply drawing, or was it an idea?
Oh man, Patchman's a funny story. He's actually the complete truth, honest truth about Patchman is that he was, if anything, more of a gift. But he really was. I didn't create Patchman. Actually, he came to me. We became friends. Actually, and you can actually look up online, if you look up I think it's on YouTube, like Jordan D Tunes or something like that, or Deshednier maybe, you can find, those are like my old accounts from way back in the like pre-Spirit Science days. You can find cartoons that I made with Patchman where he is like this silly little rag doll running around, getting in trouble, doing weird stuff, and just being awkward. It was funny. It was like a comedy thing that I did, and there was 4 episodes, and they're all just random and unique and individual on their own. But Patchman was actually created by a friend of mine whose name is Andy, actually. And Andy created Patchman just because like he connected with me when I was making these cartoons like Kingdom Hearts Chronicles and what was it? Exile was my big project. And he and I connected, and he was like, dude, like I love your cartoons. I want to learn how to do that. And I was like, I'd be happy to show you. I mean, look, I was like, I'm like a 14, 15-year-old kid at the time, and I'm like, dude, like I learned from these guys, like Super Flash Bros and Legendary Frog, you know, like these guys are, and he was like, yeah, totally. So we had a lot in common, and we were sort of learning together. And he created Patchman because he was like, I want a character that I can sort of like create and animate and stuff like that. But he never did anything with him. And he like made the character and had like some sketches, and like that was pretty much it. And then like we were still friends, and you know, like life went on. I started going to college, and I remember messaging him and said, dude, I have this idea for like a really funny cartoon that I want to make, and it's just like a really simple short, and I would love to use Patchman in it. Would you mind? And he was like, dude, totally. Like, I'm not using Patchman. Go for it. That sounds fun. And I was like, yeah, totally. And don't worry, I'll put your name in the credits and everything like that. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, you know? And so like I made this cartoon with Patchman, and then I ended up making another and another and another. And it was right around the time that I was working on the fourth one or so. Like he and I had this conversation, and I was like, man, like I just want to like use Patchman. Like I feel like I have this bond with him. Like he's such a wonderful, he's become like a friend to me, you know? Like I want to like create more Patchman stuff. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't want you coming to me and asking me every time, you know, that you want to make a cartoon, because I expect there's going to be tons of them or whatever. So like he was like, listen, just like, how about this? Like, let's make an exchange. Give me $100, and like Patchman is yours, and you can just do whatever. And we were like 17 at the time, maybe 18, right? Like very, like super young, just kids, just having fun on the internet. And I was like, that sounds great. Like, thank you so much. I was so grateful. And so like I PayPal'd him like $100, and then Patchman and I just kind of became like best friends, you know? Like that was like the story. And then Spirit Science kind of exploded into my mind, and Patchman was like, it was almost as if Patchman was in my head going like, I'm gonna be that guy on the podium. And I was like, yeah, you are, you know? And like kind of started animating Patchman into Spirit Science. So it's almost like if you look at Patchman's old cartoons compared to like then Spirit Science, it was almost as if Patchman himself had a spiritual awakening. But that's the story of Patchman. It kind of surprises people, because people are like, did you create him? Like, what's the story with the patches on his head and stuff? And I'm like, that's how Andy drew it, actually. Like actually when Andy drew it, Patchman had a lot more patches. He had patches on his head, on his arms, shoulders, bodies, on his legs. He probably had like 5 or 6 patches. And it was like right around, like, it was just through the process of me working on it, I just wanted to like simplify it. You know, like the first Patchman episode, he's got one in his arm, I think, too. But like by the time Spirit Science came around, he just sort of developed a little bit. He just had a little bit less patches, and he just had one in his chest and one in his head. And people have always been like, is that like a left brain, right brain? Is like his heart is, you know, what happened to his patches? And I've kind of thought about it from that perspective, and like, oh, maybe there's a story there, you know? He went through some stuff, and he has some patches like over his heart, or his heart's kind of, I think it's on the other side or something like that. But either way, like it's sort of like this, just like, I don't know, it's just kind of the story of Patchman, and there's not like a whole backstory to it, but maybe one day we'll add one just for fun.
That's simply amazing. Just a funny coincidence. And also I have a question to you as well. How has this journey of yours affected your relationship with your family? Has it changed at all? Are they surprised on how you got into this road of your journey?
That's a really good question, actually. Thank you for asking. So when I first started waking up, my mom was thrilled, actually, because she had someone that she could actually talk to about spirituality with, because she didn't have anybody. And it's interesting because so far growing up, like apparently she had been going to meditation, and she had crystals, and was like interested in doing all sorts of stuff. She'd done lots of like past life regressions, and she was very in tune. but she never really shared any of that with me. And I asked her why in the future. I was kind of mad at her later on in life a little bit, not recently, but like after I started waking up, I was like, why didn't you ever tell me about this? I mean, I'm like, school would have been so much easier if I had known about meditation when I was 5, like, come on. And she was like, the world has changed so much since then. And when we were growing up, people were very closed-minded, and I was worried for your safety, that you would be bullied and picked on even more if I had expressed this stuff to you. And so to keep you safe, I just didn't tell you anything, and let you find it on your own. So the fact that you found it now on your own is a testament to your soul. So, there you go. And now that you're here, let me share with you. Here's the Flower of Life books. Here's this, here's that, and here's some crystals and everything. And I'm like, oh, Mom, I love you so much. Like I can't be mad at you. And so her and I have a really good relationship. Now my dad, on the other hand, he was my stepdad. But my biological father died before I was born. So it was me and my mom for the first 4 or 5 years of my life. And then she married my dad, and I just call him Dad, but he's my stepdad. He's very practical. He's very physical, very practical, very logical, he just like looks at the world. He's an architect. He looks at the world into like how things fit together, and it's a very good perspective to have. So he was very like, I don't know, maybe concerned at first, because he's like, my son's throwing away his life. What's happening? What is he doing? And he wasn't like judgmental. He wasn't like, you shouldn't do that or anything like that. But I think he was probably a little bit like, don't you want to go and get a job at Disney making cartoons and stuff? And I was like, no, I got to do this other thing. And he was like, fine, you just do what you do. And he's become a lot more, he's warmed up to what I've done now that it's a little bit more successful. He's very proud of like the work that we did with the tarot deck and everything like that. And that's really his bottom thing, is he's like, I don't want you to end up on the streets as a homeless guy because you did whatever. So like the fact that we're able to sort of run a small little company out of our house and make cartoons and videos and have fun and stuff like that, he's really happy about that. And also like, because of the nature of the work, he has warmed up a lot as well to spirituality. He's not like going and meditating and stuff, but he's like kind of accepting of this larger scope of information that he really hadn't received a lot of in his life. And because he was also raised very Catholic and very Christian, like he was like Ukrainian Catholic. And that very, like, even he now, like we were talking about it just like a week or 2 ago, and he was saying like, he was expressing like, the problem with like Christianity, Catholicism and everything is it's just so rigid. And like, we were talking about it because we saw in the news, the Pope was like proposing to change part of the Lord's Prayer, right? And there was like, so we were talking about how there was so much backlash, like from the Christian community worldwide being so upset about that. And my dad was just like, I mean, if they could just let go a little bit, like they would be less angry about it, and like and like he was like kind of looking at it from the perspective of like, people are so afraid of change that's stopping a lot of progression for the global consciousness. And I was like, that's a absolutely wonderful perspective to have. Thank you, Dad, kind of thing, So yeah, I mean, that's sort of the yin and yang of my mom and my dad. I also have a stepbrother and 2 step siblings. My stepbrother's on a great path. He's just doing his thing, and he's got himself handled. But I don't talk to him very much, but when I do, it's always good. My little brother just went to school for video game design and programming. And my sister is also just coming into, like, I showed her the movie The Secret recently, and she's now just starting to be like, she's actually like asking me questions about spirituality and stuff. And like, that's really cool. And like, I'm really excited to see where her life takes her. And she's just, she's living her life too. So it's great. I mean, I'm very blessed to have the family that I do, because I know not everybody has that kind of relationship with their family. Some families are split up. Some families, there's a lot of anger and tension and everything like that. So yeah, I'm very blessed and very grateful.
That's beautiful. Just to say, so I kind of had the same situation with my dad. Is that he was like was it your auntie, or was it your mother that introduced you to everything? Or it was your auntie?
No, it was my mom.
Your mom, well, it was my dad that he showed me about this video about. I bet you've already seen this. This man who can burn fire with his chi, burn a piece of
Oh,
paper.
love it. Super love it. Yeah.
Yeah, with them, and he showed me this, and as a child, of course, yeah, I loved the concept of oh, powers. I can be Goku. So and then
Right.
after, no, do you want to say something?
No, I was just like, right? Yeah, we can be Goku. But sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted.
No, that's perfect. I just had that child mentality of like becoming Goku, becoming like a Super Saiyan. And after he didn't tell me about what is it. He just like told me, okay, son, do you want to do meditation? And then after he didn't tell me anything about the concepts of meditation. Because years later, I asked him, Dad, how comes you didn't like introduce me to like any of these topics when I was more younger? And he just told me because I wouldn't understand it. And that's reasonable because a child, yeah, would forget some things that they learned as they were younger. So he just guided me through countless meditations, and I just slowly started to pick it up throughout the years. But also, another question as well: what sources could you like say that helped you in your spiritual journey? Like, where do your sources come from? Like the Flower of Life book, The Secret. Where have you learned? What sorts of information have you took to help you become to share this information?
I have sort of two answers to that. The first is yes, because you were like the Flower of Life or The Secret. Both of those were very profound. But my second answer is actually all, because we have to be able to learn from everyone and everything. Everything around us is a teacher. Every experience is a teacher. Every day is a lesson. And if we say specifically, well, like this is my teacher and that's that, then we actually like end up isolating ourselves from learning from everything that could possibly be. With that said, I mean, there's a couple off the top of my head that I particularly love, but I don't want that to negate the fact that you learn from literally everything. So with that said, I would say the Hermetica, which is all of the works attributed to Thoth Hermes, the Tarot, which is sort of an assimilation of pictographic diagram of the universe based on ancient Hermeticism and Kabbalah. Also, Kabbalah is another one. The Daodejing and all of Taoism is absolutely, oh God, it's so just, I don't even have words. It's like a yin yang. It's balance. It's flow. It's equilibrium is described beautifully. I mean, words can't even describe how you just read the Tao and you're like, yeah. I even thinking about it, I just become peaceful. I'm like, the Tao, the way. It's just like the natural current and the natural flow. So that's up there. I mean, I guess the Celestine Prophecy and that whole series of like the 11th, 12th, 10th insights and all of that stuff is like always amazing. Like, I mean, honestly, it just like it could just never end. I mean, like I've got this bookshelf here of this Graham Hancock. Oh, the Jesus Mystery is really good. All of Zechariah Sitchin's work is great. The Book of Thoth was really good, but I would recommend the Book of Patch because it's kind of sort of developed off of that, and that's tarot based a little bit too. Richard Bach, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and The Illusions of the Adventures of the Reluctant Messiah, also amazing. Let's see, what else? The Toltec books, the Four Agreements and all of those ones. Those are really good. Oh, Zhuang Falun, the Falun Dafa books. I mean, again, I should stop now because, again, it's just, you can learn from everything. And all you have to do is like open yourself up to like, I want to read a thing, I want to learn a thing, and then just go and you find it and it comes to you and you are empowered by the information. And part of the thing that I want to just share in closing of this actually is that there's several stages and layers. This is described in Kabbalah, like 5 stages that we go through in reaching the state of enlightenment or reaching a point of heart opening and expansion, sort of the realization of the self. And at first it's like survival, and then it's sort of like power or wealth, and like attaining like the ability to have those survival needs met, perpetually so that you don't have to worry about them anymore. And then there's one other one, being able to manipulate and influence those things. Maybe it's like survival, wealth, power, and then there's information, actually knowledge, because at some point you recognize that no matter how much money and power you have, like, it's not fulfilling you. So the next stage after that is information. And this one's a little bit of a trap, because some people, well, I mean, it's just, they're all kind of traps, but they're naturally occurring traps in order to help you reach higher stages. So part of the thing in here is that no matter how much information that you actually have available to you in your mind, in your brain, in your heart, in your mind and brain, really, you'll never really find peace, because there's an infinite amount of information available. And so it's not about which book you read, but about how you apply and live the information that you're reading. Because you can have all of the information in the world and it's very intellectual, but unless you're living it, unless you're like living in the heart, then you can never fully truly find happiness. And so that's the final stage before the actual, like, that's the like, I guess, second to last stage. It's like this card before this card. It's like the stage of accumulating information and wisdom, but it's not fully applied. And it's once you like recognize that you are the creative process, right? All of the information is very helpful, but it's just information, right? It's not about what information you have. It's about how you're living. And then once you reach that point, you can then grow and live and expand from that pure place inside. And you can manifest and fill your life with all of those other things that you've been working on, from survival, power, wealth, information, wisdom, and all of these things. And now it pours through you. And now you're able to share it and expand, and that you can keep filling yourself and filling those around you and never become empty. And that was the trap with all the previous sections, was that no matter how much you fill yourself with money or wealth or survival needs or information, you're never full. In the final stage, in the heart, you are full and overflowing. But you have to go through those stages of learning to get there. And it's the same thing as the chakras. It's like you're going up the chakras. Like, you have to get your survival needs, you have to get your emotional stability, you've got to get, the ability to influence and control, and then you start to reach these higher levels.
That's so amazing. Also, I have a question as well. What are your tarot decks? Could you explain your tarot set and your tarot cards?
Absolutely. I wish I had the deck with me. I mean, I do. They're all upstairs. We've got 1,500 of them. But you've got 3 of them on the wall right here, so I can just talk about them. Hopefully this doesn't fall, because it looks like it's getting a little pooped out a bit. Anyways, tarot. What is tarot? Tarot is, I mentioned it briefly before. It's a pictographic diagram of the universe based on a combination of Kabbalah, ancient Egyptian mysticism, Hermeticism, astrology, numerology, a few other things. It's a very complex system, and yet so incredibly simple, and that's why it's so beautiful. Oh, alchemy. It's basically the 5 elements divided into the minor arcana, the 4 elements, and the major arcana, the 5th element. All playing cards are based on the tarot, so anybody who knows a deck of playing cards and how that works already knows 52 of the tarot. Like, it's just there. That's the whole thing. You've got the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And then you've got sort of the path of the soul, which is the 5th element. And it describes, it's essentially describing a natural archetype through which all of life in reality is experienced. All of the experiences that you personally go through are depicted in these cards. And then by reflecting upon these cards, doing a reading with the cards, pulling the cards, observing them, practicing them, learning them, you become familiar with the inherent qualities within you to a greater degree. And so it's kind of a call to meditation, if you will, like you being like people. There's this fear that comes in with it, with like Christianity being like, it's divination, it's evil, it's bad, and all of this stuff. But divination is not the way that they were writing about divination back in those days, and what we're talking about now are 2 entirely different things. This is self-reflection. This is really like, you're not doing like, should I get married? You draw a card and the card says yes. No, like you have to interpret that yes based on the card that you get. That still is an interpretation that comes from within you. It's like, should I, you know, go to the movies or whatever, and like you're gonna get a card. Let's say you get the sun, right? And the sun is all about like illumination and unconditional love and the individuality of the self. It's a very totality, like a total image, because it has all of the zodiac and all of the planets and everything on it, because the sun's in the center. So instead of being like, oh, that's a yes, instead you'd like look at that and you go, okay, like there's these elements and aspects of this card that are now present within me. Like I am present to the light within me. I'm present to all the different aspects of myself. What are they all saying? Okay, well, I mean, I want to go and spend time with these friends, but I don't like the movie that they've chosen. But the sun is illuminating and it's expressive. Maybe if I expressed my feelings to them, maybe then we can change the movie and we can go see the new Star Wars instead, or whatever, you know, like whatever it is, you know. And it's like all of these the cards are just tools for reflection and for coming to understand the different aspects of us. Because again, like, you know, I realized growing up, like nobody explained to me the psychophysiology of the human body of consciousness, you know, like that's not a thing that people explain. It's like, I mean, you kind of have an idea, you feel bad, you feel good, you have thoughts of different things, but you never think like, how do my thoughts work? How do my emotions work? How do the different parts of me affect each other, you know? And so like the cards give you an idea, a representation for your mind to comprehend how your thoughts and your emotions and your body and your spiritual will, how they all interact and fit together and work with each other, right? In such a beautiful myriad of ways that like, it's just, it's a really great way to expand your consciousness, just by taking in new ideas and new imagery that like paints a picture of what reality really is.
Perfect. and also you could say you've already answered this, but like, what is the misconception of tarot cards? Because people think that it's from Satan himself, it's from the devil. Could you explain that? Why do people think that it's from Satan himself?
I mean, I briefly did that before, but it's like, I mean, it was written in the Old Testament that, you know, divination is not allowed. And the reason why divination is not allowed is because the divination practices in the past were like, essentially what they were talking about was using magic to influence and control reality, to like cast spells on each other, or to like do, you know, to scry into the nether and summon darkness to whatever. I mean, it was very fear-based, because it was like people didn't know, like the human consciousness at the time was not very evolved. And so I believe that this information and teaching came about in order to try and protect people. But it's so old and it's not relevant anymore. And this is the problem that we're having, is that people are so attached to the old teachings that we're like missing out on all of the new learnings that we can have, because we don't have the same problems that we had 2,500 years ago or 4,000 years ago, whatever. Like, it's so old. And it's not that there's not value in it. Of course, we can learn from the past and learn from the information, but like, actually, I'm happy I brought this up earlier. This new Star Wars movie paints it so well, you know? Like Yoda's asking Luke, like, did you read those ancient Jedi books? And Luke was like, I mean, yeah. And Yoda's like, not page turners, they were. Like, it was so cute. But it was like, look, I mean, there's value in it, but we have to be able to learn what we're learning here and now, unobstructed by a rigid ancient system that may or may not still apply, right? Like, yes, let's learn from it, but let's not use that to determine the quality and state of our heart. Like, if you're feeling compelled to be free, and this ancient teaching is telling you don't, I would choose the freedom every time, you know? Like, being aware, being like, okay, maybe I'll learn a lesson and I'll come back and be like, wow, you were right, but I learned the lesson, right? Instead of not learning the lesson and living in fear about it. And so the old devil thing, that just got warped in with Christianity as Christianity developed. Tarot cards came about in the last 300-400 years, really, in the way that they are. And people, after the Renaissance, really, and people were just like, I mean, the Christian movement was like, don't do it, or you're going straight to hell, you know? And like, people just took it because that's how Christianity operates. I mean, and no offense to Christianity, I believe there's real, genuine, authentic Christians living with love and compassion in their lives as an example of like the teachings of Jesus, right? Because that's what Christianity is about. But there's so many other teachings that have like kind of got in there, and it's become very rigid and it doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, like, that's really where the fear comes from. And like it was kind of my goal with Patch to Row, because I've been working on this for about a year and we just finished them, you know, over the last 3 or 4 months. But Patch to Row was really an intention to create a new kind of deck that allows for compassionate learning and understanding about the nature of these cards, and what they mean and what they do and what they are, without all of that. Like, because some of the decks are very dark and mysterious, scary, you know, like, and this one, I mean, they all literally look like this. Like they're light and they're colorful and they're friendly and they're accessible, and they all say like keywords on them. Now these are a little bit old posters, but they're down here. Now in the new versions, they're at the top. But like, you know, it's like, here, birth and look, the Aeon. Okay, we've got the element of fire, birth and renewal, or self-deception. Now it's a little, the keys might be different in the latest version because we printed these actually literally a year ago. But it's like, it gives you an idea of like what the upright main meaning of the card is, and then if you draw it reversed, what sort of the counter is. And it's, again, things for reflection. Like if you draw the card upside down, like, self-deception. How am I deceiving myself? You know, like, you can do that reflection and just trying to make it easy for people to and make it fun, make learning fun, because it really should be. Learning should be fun. We should gamify the world, make everything a game and make it fun, because then there's no limits to what we want to do, because everything that we do is a joy to experience and to explore. So I hope that answered your question.
It did perfectly. Also, my next question is really that in today's society, I feel like maybe do you feel like we are at a point of disclosure or revelations? Do you think that something terrible is going to happen, or something magnificent is going to happen, that it will inspire great change or inspire destruction?
Yes. Yes, to both.
Yes, for disclosure or revelations.
What's the difference?
Oh, like just like just picking in and out. So like, what do you think?
Well, disclosure is like the information being disclosed. Usually, it's related, at least in that regard, to like aliens. You know, like the existence of ET life and everything like that. Revelations is like actually the definition of revelation is the lifting of the veil. So like people can now see, their eyes are open. So literally, disclosure and revelations. Disclosure also being something that is unknown, being disclosed, being revealed. So they really both mean the same thing, in a different way, but very much so. Like, I mean, yes. And then also like what the result will be. I mean, yes to both. Again, like great destruction, great, beautiful change, something miraculous and something horrible. Yes. A friend of mine shared with me before this like found way of explaining it, which was that the world right now is there is so much light, because there is so much, like, because of the internet, because of our advanced new technology that we're all sort of experiencing, there's so much coming to the surface, there's so much light, there's so much awareness, there's so much flashing of new information to our minds, that it's blinding, and it's blinded us. So we actually are in the dark. Like, we've been in the dark for 2,000 years or whatever, like especially the dark ages, and we're a little bit of light and more control, and a little bit of light and more control. Now we're in, there's so much light that it's blinded us and we're in the dark again. And so as more and more things come to light, and the light gets brighter and brighter, it's going to cause all of the old systems to break and get all messed up. And those systems are going to cling for control, and they're going to keep breaking. And so there's going to be a lot of destruction. And my meditation teacher, Alex, tells me that we're sort of in the first phase of this like 300-year period of war, where this is like the transition of the age of Pisces to Aquarius, where all of those old systems are going to break up and fall apart and become a mess. And the new systems will become established, but it's going to take a long period. And there's going to be a lot of destruction, and there's going to be a lot of miraculous new creations. And like, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try and escape from all of this, likely in virtual reality or games or movies, or just like leaving their homes and stuff like that. But that's why it's so important that we become aware of this, so that we can really ground and hold the space of compassion and love for each other in this time to help us get through it. Because like, we are all in this together, and if we're able to like hold each other's hands and be one with each other, you know, like that classic picture of the earth with a bunch of paper cutout people holding hands around it, sort of thing, like we can get through anything. But as long as we believe that we're separate and individual and disconnected, we'll remain that way.
Perfect. So just my another question here that I have. What are your intentions for the world? Like not like becoming like world leader or anything. What are your like intentions to change the world? Like what do you want to do with the world?
It's like I have this power, me and my stick. Yeah, it's a good question. Let's see, like, it's more of like, what's my intention with spirit science, I think. I mean, I want to change the world, and that's been sort of my intention from the beginning, but I know that I'm but a drop of water in a massive ocean, you know, like infinite ocean, really. Like, it's not going to be up to me to change the world. It's going to be up to all of us together. So if anything, my message is, let's all get together and change the world. With spirit science, I mean, I want to do a lot of things. I want to make a big studio. I want to animate the Hermetica, like get a team of animators and make like some really solid spirit science series, you know, and like, yeah, just like, I don't know, make some really cool stuff, like, and then kind of taking that outside of the realm of like, that's the studio, you know. I want to have like a spirit science lab, like an actual laboratory where we can do science experiments, you know, for all the people who say spirit science isn't science. Like, let's actually technologically find a chakra, you know, sort of thing, and like and stuff like that, and like maybe even help with some new energy technology, or some new technologies that can help make the world a better place and stuff like that. I have this dream of building a cloud city, like a floating city, so that humans can just like get off the surface of the earth and just let the earth go through some cycles and kind of fix itself a little bit, because we've done a lot of damage to it, and she can fix herself easily. We just have to get out of her way. But we could help, you know. We could clean up a lot of the landfills and stuff like that too. And it just, I mean, there's a huge list, like cleaning up the oceans, cleaning up the landfills, cleaning up all the garbage and the mess, and getting out of the way of the natural cycles that take taking place. Also, before we can build a cloud city, we probably also have to build an ocean city, which would be really fun. I mean, like, the list really kind of goes like on, and I can see all of those things kind of coming to be, and I just, I guess I want to hold the space for all of them to happen. And then really it's just going to be like, things are just going to happen as they do. I don't know where things will go, because spirit sometimes comes through me with a crazy motion and says, do this thing right now, go and do this crazy, you know, change everything in your life, go and do this. And I'm like, I'm just going to let go and trust. So, okay, then I'll do it. So, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm going to listen to spirit, and I'm going to listen to what flows through me and trust it and go with that. And we'll just see what happens.
Isn't it just go with the flow, and everything will be fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything will be fine.
Really,
So, another question that I want to ask you as well. What do you think are the misconceptions of meditation? Because a lot of people just think that meditation is just you sitting in one position, not moving whatsoever, trying to clear your mind, but like they find it boring, especially for people who I try to introduce to meditation. They say that they have no time for it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, that's true. Um, Stillness of the mind is one of the most amazing places that we can experience because it's free of all of the mental clutter that stops us from being present in the moment. When people are like, that sounds great, but I'm, like being present in the moment, but I'm worried about things that happened in my past. I'm worried about my future and all of these things. Like you're not being in the here and now. And that happens because like we really have hurricanes going on in our minds, and you have to be able to like let the hurricane die down. And where it's you can't walk up to a hurricane and just say stop. We can influence it. We can fly over the plains and drop little ice things or whatever in them, and it can actually help influence the dying down of the hurricane. But like you can't just like cease a hurricane unless you're Moses, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, the thing is, or Gandalf actually. But the way that I like to look at it is that if we can give ourselves the space to let our thoughts just find some rest, we can experience clear skies inside in our heads. And it comes to really like it's explained in the Tarot. Like the suit of swords is about the mind and the mental process. And like the simpler your thoughts, the clearer your mind are, and the more peaceful you become. And so to me, it's like, look, there's a lot of ways of meditation, and you can consider driving to be a meditation if you're breathing and focusing. You can consider mowing the lawn or going for a run or a walk or anything. You can do a meditation in any way. But one of the most powerful forms of meditation, if not the most powerful form of meditation, is to allow yourself to sit and focus on your breath, to become calm, to become connected, and to become in tune with yourself. Because it's by becoming in tune with yourself that you can really, yourself, right? But as long as your thoughts are swirling, as long as there's a hurricane going on inside, it's hard to hear the voice of spirit. It's hard to hear what's really going on. And so I really recommend it. And even if people say, I can't get my thoughts to slow down, I would say, don't worry about it, right? Like the more worry about it, the more you're feeling the hurricane. Just breathe. And you're going to think about your thoughts, and and they're going to get swirly, and then you're just going to keep breathing, and you're going to swirl and then breathe. And you do that 20 minutes a day for a couple of weeks. I mean, it doesn't take, and this is, it's so funny because as I say that, I'm like, people are going to be like, a couple of weeks? Oh God, I want it now. And I mean, it takes practice. It takes some devotion to yourself, right? But even within a couple of days doing that, you will feel a difference. The longer you do it for, the deeper and clearer you become within yourself, to the point at which you'll end up feeling like you don't need to meditate anymore because you're very clear in your mind already. And then it's just like you can just keep taking it deeper. You can go even farther within yourself because, right, so lengthens the journey. Every step now taken, you can just infinitely go within yourself and find out new things perpetually.
Amazing. Also, I also want to tell you this, that something that it's a personal photo, I just want to share. I just want to know your opinion on it. What do you think of this? Do you think that in all of life's existence, that we're just basically infinite? That if we are to go through a microscope into our own body, do you think if we manage to hit a point, we will actually find into the microscopic nanoparticle? Do you think that there will be a world on its own? And in between those worlds is a solar system. And in between in all those worlds contains humans like us, tiny little humans, and which it just keeps on going forever. If you've heard of fractals, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it's like the philosophy of Horton Hears a Who. Yeah, totally. I don't see why not. I've often thought of that when I was younger, and just being like, like that was even before I was spiritual. I was like, could that be a thing? Like, and honestly, creation is so infinitely vast and infinite that like, I, I can't say definitively yes or no, but honestly, I would just answer like, I don't see why not.
So my other question is though, how did you meet him? Is it your friend Aaron and your other friend that helps you with spirit science now, today? How did you meet them?
Yeah, we just met through a mutual friend named Liam, who I was living in California for a while, and when I moved back to Winnipeg, I reached out to my friend Liam, who was one of my only kind of spiritual friends here, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'd love to reconnect and see you." And he's like, "Yeah, totally. I'd love to introduce you to my roommate, Aaron." And I was like, "Sounds great." And like, Aaron, we all showed up together at the Forks one day. I was playing Pokemon Go, and then we just like started talking and like kind of became best friends. It just happened very naturally, and like him and his consciousness and his mind and his heart are so. It's such a magical. He's such a magical being. I just love him. He's wonderful, and he had expressed like wanting to help and be a part of spirit science and all this stuff, and we just started talking, and by December of last year, December 2016, he and I he had quit his job, and he started working with Spirit Studios. And we was actually because of our Patreon page, like we launched a Patreon channel to make some income in order to pay him. And like so like I wasn't even really taking a salary at first, or anything like that. Like it was like, Aaron, I want you to like help me with spirit science and everything like that. So we're just gonna like all of it goes to you until there's enough to go around or whatever. Because he was working a job and he left his job and he had to pay rent and all stuff like that. And I was living at my parents, so I didn't really have much expenses. And we just got to work, and like we over the course of this year, we made a website, we wrote a book, we launched tarot cards, we made a whole bunch of spirit science videos, and next year is going to be even better.
Just also as well, two questions, and just is, do you think the Atlantis King would ever rejoin you to make another spirit science video? The Atlantis
I
King.
would love it. I would super love it. But I don't know. But I would super love it, and honestly, like I wouldn't doubt it, because he is such a wonderful friend, and yeah, it'll be awesome to see him again. Make something together.
But also as well, my other question, you could say is you I feel like you would tell me the same thing. Like, do you think paradigm shift will come will come back? Is David your friend David? If I remember, that's his name, David. Is he going to are you going to invite him to come back to make another paradigm shift video?
I'm not sure that I'm going to be making more paradigm shift videos in the future now.
All right.
Right now, my focus is especially very much on spirit science. But anything can happen, and I've got an open heart, and we'll see where things go.
Perfect. And also, almost coming to a close here to this interview, and how, just for the people who are struggling out there, do you have any message towards them? That, because I have so many friends and so many people who I know that they tell me life is just a big struggle. Every time when I tell them, how are you? They always tell me, I'm fine. What did you do today? Nothing. Especially people from my age, they just don't seem to find the beauty in the world. What can you tell them so they can just simply ease their struggle into life? What is your core message that you wish to share with everyone right now, right here?
It's a really good question. There's kind of two questions in there, though, because it's like, what would I tell these people who are struggling? And then what is my core message? They're really the same, but when you were sharing that, I was sort of thinking like, part of the challenge is that people who don't do anything with their lives and are not interested in doing anything with their lives, they're not listening. And that's fine, because they're wherever they're at, And so I probably wouldn't say anything to them unless they asked. If they asked, if they were struggling and they asked and they were genuine about their question and they said, I really want to do something different, or I want something to change in my life, or I mean, it was funny. It's like if they said they really wanted to do something different, I would say do something different. You know, that's how we change. That's we changed our lives by doing something different. But like, I mean, it's kind of circumstantial because it's like every person is unique and is at their own place, and I would want to individually respond to each one of them to something that they would resonate with. But I suppose, like, if I was like, I'm imagining like an audience of people who are struggling, I would say I know what that feels like because I struggle too. And I want you to know how incredibly loved you are. I want you to know that no matter what's happening, Spirit is always with you. And if you're struggling through any sort of anything, it's because there's a reason for it and there's something for you to learn there. And that the quality of your heart will not be destroyed by this, but be refined, as if taking hot coal and refining that and compressing it into a diamond so that you can genuinely sparkle like the brilliant light that you are. I would say, peace be unto you. And thank you for coming to me. Please know that in listening to me, all of what you hear is heard inside of you. And all that I am, all that you receive from myself is within you. I am you, and you are me. That's
perfect. That's simply perfect. And so, just ask you one final question. Like, if you were like so that is like you would say to somebody who's struggling with life. But like, so right now, right here, what is your number one message? Like, let's say you're in a jumbotron and the entire world is watching you.
That.
Oh, you already said that. Oh.
No, it's good. I think I would just go back and say, we are one.
We are one.
That's it. We are one. All
perfect,
is one.
Then.
One.
So,
I mean,
well,
I feel like I might have cut you off. Like, was there more to your question, or is that sort of it?
No. That was it. Okay, so, well, thank you again, Jordan, for joining me on this quest for knowledge. Thank you again. I just simply, I just really felt like since I started this, it's been a dream come true to literally meet you. To be honest, really meet you. I always had dreams about it, like talking to you, that meeting up here, just like talking about whatever it comes to us in life. I really like dreamt about it, seriously. And so I really feel like that I attracted this experience. So, well, thank everyone for watching as well. I'll be leaving also, Jordan, is there anything that you wish to like publicize, your tarot cards, your Patreon, your website?
I mean, sure. Why don't you share links to all of it, either on the video or in the comments or whatever, but the website is spiritsciencecentral.com. And if you put a /tarot after that, you can get /tarot. Or just explore them. Also, like our YouTube channel, like there's all of Spirit Science is up on, just go on YouTube and search Spirit Science. You're certain to find it. And thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate making the connections.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Well, until the next time, everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to click here to stop recording.